This is seriously the most fun you can have in a car with your clothes on. This is the Mazda MX-5 and it's one of the most iconic cars of the last 30 years, and in that time the formula hasn't changed. It's a small, affordable, rear-wheel drive roadster that's nothing but pure fun. The current version of the MX-5 has been around for several years now, but it still looks really good and really fresh. The front lights do have a little bit of Jaguar F-Type about them, and in fact, when you look at the lights and the grille together, you can't help but notice that they do resemble a smile, which is funnily enough what you're going to be doing when you get behind the wheel of one of these. I love the bulging flared front fenders here over the wheel arches. It gives this car almost a little bit of a Coke bottle sort of shape. And just to remind you that this top-spec GT RS model is just as happy cruising down by the beach on a lazy Sunday afternoon as it is out on the track. You get 17-inch black BBS alloys and big red Brembo brakes. At the back, we've got light clusters that look a little bit like the ones we've seen in some of Mazda's SUVs, and then there's the boot, which is opened by a button hidden under here somewhere. Found it? And it's 130 litres, which is really not very big. In fact, I don't think I'd fit my family's weekly food shop in there. But you could get a suitcase in with enough luggage for two for a weekend away, so maybe that's what the MX-5 is for. Dirty weekends away. Obviously, this top-spec GT RS model gets the best engine. It's a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder 2-litre engine that outputs 135 kilowatts of power and 205 newton meters of torque. Now, those numbers don't really sound huge on paper, but you've got to remember, this is a small car. It only weighs a ton, so it gets along very, very nicely. And it's rear-wheel drive, so that's even more fun. Inside, and while it still looks really good and everything you need is within easy reach, this design language is starting to look just a little bit dated, because we first saw it back in the Mazda 6 around about 9 years ago, and it could probably do with a little bit of a freshen up. In terms of fit and finish, we've got a mixture of soft plastics and leather, but there is quite a bit of harsh, scratchy plastic, especially up here on top of the dash and down here on the armrest, which is a spot that you do tend to touch a lot, which is a bit of a shame. I like this exposed, shiny plastic here on the inside of the door that's the same color as the exterior. It's sort of reminiscent of those old 1960s roadsters. But have a look at how much flex there is on this interior panel here on the A-pillar. That moves a lot. The center console screen is 7 inches. It's a touch screen, but the touch function is disabled when the car is moving for safety reasons. Then you can only use it with the jog wheel in the lower console, and it won't become active again until the car comes to a stop, which is a pretty good feature to have. 7 inches is a bit small by modern car standards, and certainly there is room for a larger screen here, but do you really need it? I don't know, but this car could do with a software update. This system is fairly old. It dates back to around about 2012 or so when the Mazda 6 came out, and it's a little bit clunky, and it's got these weird icons on the main screen there to kind of fumble your way through. Hopefully Mazda will update it before too long. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay though, which is a big tick in the plus column, and certainly Apple's navigation works better than this car's native navigation system. The sound system has 9 speakers from Bose. That's maybe overkill in a car this size, but it does sound really good, especially with the speakers mounted in the headrests. Some very simple air conditioning controls, heated seat buttons, and then also 2 USBs and a little space here for your phone, so long as it's small enough to fit in there. Fortunately, mine is. And then we've got the gear shifter, and I love this gear shifter. It has such a great feel to it. And to find reverse, by the way, you've got to push down and out and to the left. It took me a little while to figure that out. I almost had to drive back and ask, but I managed to figure it out on my own. And then we've got a big old handbrake here, which is used for securing the car when the car is parked and nothing else. Jog wheel to control the center screen and a couple of shortcut buttons, plus volume control for the sound system. And then we get to some of the more puzzling design elements in this car, with the world's smallest center console bin that doesn't really hold anything except a couple of face masks maybe. And these removable cup holders, which sit right in front of the center storage bin here. So when you've got drinks here, you can't actually open this to access anything without knocking your drinks over. You can actually remove these and put one of them up the front here, but I would not want to have my coffee there while going over a bumpy road, or really any road, because it's likely to spill everywhere. I think I would prefer if Mazda just got rid of this silly center bin and put proper cup holders in there, allowing you to access the the glove box here a lot more easily. A couple of big old school analog dials up there, which is great for a roadster. We've got a digital display screen as well, showing you trip information, fuel, that kind of thing. The roof is operated manually. It's really light and you can raise it and lower it in a matter of seconds, even while stopped at a red light. To close it, you just flick the switch there, pull it up and lock it into place, and it's done. To open, reverse, there we go, flick it back, lock it into place, and it's open. Easy. Why complicate it with something electric? With barbershops closed and lockdown at the moment, I haven't been able to get my hair cut for a while, so it's a bit longer than I'd like it to be. Sensing it's going to be a bit woolly by the end of this. If you've never driven a manual before and you're thinking of learning, find a friend who's got an MX-5, because this is one of the best manual transmissions you're going to find. It is dead easy to use and it has a great feel to it. Nice short little throws and kind of a notchy mechanical sort of feel to it, so you really know when it's in gear. And the clutch is just right. It's almost impossible to stall this car. Touch wood, touch plastic. I haven't done it yet so far, and that's always a good thing, because normally when you get into a manual car that you haven't driven before for the first time, you're likely to stall it in the first few minutes just as you get used to it, but that hasn't happened here. Oh, nearly stalled it. And being low down to the ground and making a nice noise out of the exhaust, you do get a sense that you're driving actually a lot faster than you are. So oftentimes when I think I'm actually doing about 60, I'll look down and the speedo will be reading 40, which is not a bad problem to have. And with its 50-50 weight distribution and short wheelbase, it is fantastic on twisty roads. So much fun. The freeway, the open road, that's where the MX-5 does its best work. My uncle used to have an MGB when I was a kid. It was from the 1960s, and it had a very similar feel to this. Not that I ever got to drive it, I was too young, but what I imagine it felt like to drive. And like the MGB, this just feels so authentic and real. This is real motoring. It's not sort of dulled by adaptive cruise control or adaptive dampers or fake engine noise. It's just you and the car and the outside world. Driving with the hood down does get rid of that terrible blind spot that you get when the roof is up in the MX-5, where the B-pillar usually is. It's a huge blind spot, and did almost cause me a bit of an issue earlier in the week. But of course you get fantastic visibility all around with it down, almost to the point where it's dangerous, because you find yourself getting distracted by things that you see when you look up, and looking up and having your eyes off the road is not such a great idea when you're driving. Eyes forward. The ride is reasonably firm, but not jarringly so. Being 190 centimeters tall, I'm probably at the upper end of people who can comfortably fit in the MX-5, and that's become a bit of an issue with the steering wheel, because it's a tiny bit bigger than it perhaps should be for me. My hand is constantly getting jammed between the wheel and my knee, which is not ideal. I don't know why it's taken me so long to get behind the wheel of an MX-5. This is brilliant. I really like it. A lot. At $51,000, the Mazda MX-5 GT RS just gives you so much bang for your buck. It's completely impractical, and just like being in love with a real human being, it doesn't have to make sense. You shouldn't have to justify it to anybody else. I'm in love, and I want one.